there, Justin with Pool Elementary, and today we're going to be going over the initial startup of your hot tub, whether it be a new tub and we're just going to fill it and get it going, or a maintenance drain and refill of an existing tub, or if you just have your tub winterized and you want to get it filled up and fired up again. We'll go over all the steps from filling to general maintenance to the chemicals you're going to need and what to add. So let's get started. So the first step is to find the drain on the actual hot tub. So in most cases, they're going to be down in this lower extremities area of the tub. This one happens to be on the corner of the tub. So on this one here, it has a safety cap. So just thread off, and then you can just attach a garden hose onto this, and then it's just got a ball valve that you're going to spin quarter way, and it's going to open up and drain your tub. So whether you're draining it or you're getting ready to fill it, you want to check this drain to make sure it's shut. So this drain's shut, safety cap on, this one's ready to fill. If you can't find your drain on the outside of the hot tub, chances are it's going to be in your equipment bay on your hot tub. Most hot tubs have a drain on the inside. It's going to be a hose with that type of similar fitting on it. And I like to look first in the actual compartment that has the equipment in it, and normally they're on the side of the tub just below the actual top side controller. In this case, this one is right below the top side control on the tub, and as you can see, the drain is actually in this compartment of the tub here. So it's just got a ball valve, and you can actually add your garden hose to this and open it up and drain the tub. On this tub, this one was winterized, so when we winterize tubs, a lot of the times they'll loosen up these unions on your heater and the unions on the tub. So before you go and fill the tub up after it's been winterized, you want to check to make sure that all these unions are tightened back up, and make sure any valves that you have in your tub, like these gate valves, are open. As you can see, this one's fallen shut, and that's it. And we're going to go around and you're going to want to check all of these unions. There's two on the pumps, and then there's one on each side of this heater, and you're just going to want to tighten these down and making sure that that o-ring in there's in the right position, and you'll just go hand tight. And I like to give it 2 hands and see if I can get about another 1/8 of a turn out of it. So once our tub's drained and you've got it all cleaned out, or we're just doing an initial fill and we know our drain cap's closed, we're going to fill it through the filter housing itself. And what this is going to do, this is the highest point of the tub, and it's going to push the water down through the pumps and force most of the air out. Some of your tubs are going to actually have bleeder valves, as you can see here, and these you just loosen up like so. And what happens is when you're filling through this filter housing, basically as the water goes to the pump, these bleeder valves are attached directly to the pump on the high side of them. And what happens is the water enters the pump and it's going to force the air out of these bleeder valves. So with our garden hose, just going to get it down into the filter housing here, and we'll turn that on and start filling this hot tub. If we're refilling a tub that's been winterized, as the tub's filling with water, this is the best time to come back and check all these unions that you've tightened up, just to make sure they're not leaking. And then we'll also check them one more time when we actually fire up the tub, when there's actually some pressure behind them. While the tub is filling, and if we're not replacing the filters with new ones, or if we haven't cleaned them yet, you're definitely going to want to take your filters and add some type of a filter cleaner to it. This one we just sprayed deliberately, and then basically we'll rinse it off with a garden hose. Or if it's kind of sticky to the touch and it needs a degreaser, I highly recommend soaking it for at least 3 hours in 4 gallons of water with a pint of a degreaser made for hot tub filters. And that's it. You just set her in the actual degreaser, let her soak for at least 3 hours, and then once we take it out, we'll spray it off with a garden hose and add it to our hot tub. Now that our hot tub's finally almost full, we want to fill it to where the water's above all of your jets. And if there's any lights on the sides of the spas, you want to make sure all of those are covered too. On spas that have actual head pillows on them, I like to fill it about a finger width below these. That'll keep the water off of your actual head pillow, and when you're adding chemicals and stuff, it won't be so harsh on them because you don't want to ruin those. If you have some type of a weir system, such as this spa, you're gonna wanna take the water level halfway up the skimmer. Now that the tub is full, we're gonna put our filter in. And some of them just slide in like so and have a top that twists on. Other filters will thread in, or they'll push down in and have a quarter turn to lock them into place. So their filter added, it's time to turn the tub on. Either you have a breaker that you're going to turn on, or in this case this one runs off 120, so it's just going to plug in. And your tub's going to actually go through a sequence and just make sure everything's working on it. So it'll take a few seconds for it to kick on here. So now the tub's fired up. You'll want to go through your controls, and if you have multiple pumps or whatnot, you're going to want to fire each one of them up just to make sure that they're primed up and running properly. I like to go through everything. If for some reason one of your pumps, after turning it on and off a few times, and you can't get it to take off because it's airlocked, there's really only one thing you can do, and then you're gonna have to take off the service panel, and I'll show you what you need to do to get that air out of that pump. If you don't have your access panel off for your actual equipment so you can get that pump unairlocked, like I said, it's usually located below the actual topside controller. There are a few that aren't, so you can always go to your manual or Google it to see where it's at on your tub. Well, that's it. We'll have to take this panel off. Like so. Most of them just have a couple frame pieces on the side that hold this panel in place, or they'll actually be screws going around the actual panel. This one's just those come out and then it just folds up and slides out. So now that we got our panel off, we can go ahead and fire the actual pump that's airlocked so we can see which one it is. So by firing that up, you're gonna hear it running, and if your jets still aren't blowing out any water, then we'll turn that pump off and we'll have to get the air out of it. So on these pumps, as you can see, this red line that's coming off the top here, that actually goes to those bleeder ports that I was showing you earlier. They usually work, but in some cases your pumps don't have them. So the only other option is basically, you can see this one has an actual tab here that you might have to use a pair of channel locks to get it loose. But by loosening this just a little bit, you're gonna see air is gonna come out of this deal, and just let the air go till you actually get a stream of water out. If you don't have any of these bleeder deals on the front of your pump, the only other option is to crack one of these unions. So if we didn't have that, I would probably take a pair of channel locks and just loosen this union on the front of the pump until I get air or water coming out of it, and then I would tighten it back down, and that should get this pump running. In other situations, if you actually have a circ pump on your actual hot tub that runs the heater or an ozone, as you can see, this one's really tough to get to, but that's kind of it. To get the air out of this one, we would either have to pull this ring down right here and pull this off, or we'd have to squeeze these two together with a pair of pliers, take that locking ring off this hose and try to wiggle this hose off till we get it off far enough to where air is going to come out, and then we can push it back on real quick and then slide that locking ring back on. If you are filling your hot tub after a winterizing, it's good to actually fill the hot tub up, fire it up, and let it run for about 10 minutes. A lot of times you're gonna get a bunch of gunk out of the lines that looks kind of like a slimy substance. And if you used antifreeze in it, sometimes that antifreeze after sitting for a while will almost have like a vinegar smell to it. So I highly recommend actually filling the tub up, letting it run for about 10 minutes, maybe even putting a little chlorine in it, and then basically draining it out and doing a second refill. But that's only on the winterized tubs, and that's it. You'll know right away as soon as you turn it on after the first refill, and if it just fills the tub up with a bunch of gunk, I highly recommend draining it again. When you drain it from the actual drain plug from the hot tub through gravity, it takes quite a while, so I know you're not going to want to do that. So if you have a sump pump, or you have access to a place that has fairly cheap ones that are 30 to 40 bucks, I would recommend getting a sump pump because it makes draining these tubs so much faster, and then you can actually suck out all the gunk that's in the bottom with the actual sump pump too. So now that it comes to chemicals, if you're on a well or if you have a high mineral content in your water, it's always good to use a product that removes the metals and helps your filter collect them out. In this case, this is a Leisure Time Metal Gun, and what you'll do is you'll pour this bottle into your actual hot tub, and 48 hours later you'll just remove your filter and spray off the iron that's collected. The other chemicals that I highly suggest you have on hand is going to be a spa pH increaser, a spa pH decreaser, a spa total alkalinity increaser, and then it comes down to your sanitizers. You have the options of chlorine, bromine, or some type of non-chlorine shock. And that's it. If you want to get into like a whole list of the pros and cons behind the spa chlorine and the spa bromine, you can go ahead and just Google it. There's so much information on all of that. Another product we have is a non-chlorine shock. And I like to use the non-chlorine shock once a week with either the chlorine or the bromine. And that's just it. So basically it's gonna shock and help disinfect your hot tub without having to add more chlorine to it. So I like to do that once a week also on top of that. And you can normally use the hot tub pretty quickly right after using this. So the last thing is, after our hot tub's filled up and we're actually warming it to temp, this is when I like to get my hot tub pretty close to balanced. So I like to use a test strip just to see where it's at. And as you can see, we filled this with well water, and that's kind of it. Our pH is pretty much 7.8. Ideal is 7.2 to 7.8. And that's it. You can see there's no free chlorine yet, and our calcium's good, and it looks like our alkalinity is actually pretty good as well. So really all this tub's going to need right now is the recommended dose of chlorine or bromine, which the instructions are on the back of the bottle per the amount of gallonage of your tub. So we'll basically add what we need to get the tub to balanced. And like I said, if your pH was low, there's instructions right on the back of the pH increaser and decreaser to your tub's gallonage. To, like, say if the pH was 6.8, it's going to tell you how much you should add if your tub's 6.8 to get it up. And you'll just slowly add that and then recheck it, you know, after 45 minutes to get it to where it needs to be. On these initial fills, I'll put in what is recommended for where the pH and everything's at, alkalinity's at. And then when this tub comes up to temp, I'll come back out here and I'll run another dipstick test on the tub when it's actually heated, and that'll give it some time for everything to mix in, get set, and sometimes it'll fluctuate a little bit as the water temperature gets higher. So I'll do one more dipstick to get the pH and everything right on this tub before I use it. When it comes to testing your hot tub water, I highly recommend also running a dipstick test on it at least once a week. I also, if you do have a local hot tub store and they do water testing, I would say take them down a water sample once a month or so, just so you can get the exact reading on it and make sure your tub's good. Thanks for joining me with Pool Elementary on our hot tub startup video. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get all of our new future releases. And we'll see you next time.